Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel, and in today's video I have a shadow spell tier list for y'all. I thought this would be a pretty cool and unique idea. My friend Ice Gold helped me make this list, so shout out to Ice Gold or Locke if you know him. Check him out, he's a nice guy. Test ROM is officially down for the spring update, so we kinda are expecting for it to go live sometime this upcoming week, but if it's not this week, it'll probably have to be the next one after. And in general, I think this will be a good tier list to help y'all out and figure out what spell elements you're gonna want to farm, which ones are worth going for, stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get into things right away, starting off with the school that actually benefited the most from this change, and that is going to be Storm. And there's essentially two reasons why Storm got the best shots this update. One is their cards are just absolutely insane, and two, the shad changes slows down the meta, and Storm always does better in a slower meta. It's kind of weird how that works, but it's just kind of the way it is. So starting off with the one of the best shads, I think, and it's gonna have to be Dark and Stormy. Now, some people in the community think this is bad because it doesn't give 2 heals or 3. But in my opinion, it doesn't matter, right? 1 heal is fine, but you need to look at the value of the card, right? 6 pips, 1 shad, really good damage, and really good healing. Okay, so I used this on test round, and it's roughly about 1300 healing and a little under 3k damage. Typically, it's like 2.7 plus 1300 healing, so about 4k value, right? Now, the reason this is so good is it's essentially Goat Monk 2.0, but it's on a Storm now, and it's a Shad, so it's really, really good. The only actual counter to this would be like, you know, Threefold or Gearhead, because the counters like Triton and Pirate just aren't going to be good against this, right? If I Dark and Storm me and you Pirate me, I'm just going to bury and get more value, you know? So, incredible card, amazing, one of the best cards in this entire update, I want to say, but definitely S tier. Next up, we have Rasulka. I think this is also S tier. This spell will be bugged though. All of these Shad auras will not be making it to Live Realm because there's a bug where they stay on permanently and you can't counter them, so that kind of sucks. But again, incredible damage, 40% chromatic aura for the next 4 rounds, absolutely insane, huge tempo swing. Next up, we have Iron Sultan. Now, my first gut reaction was this was kind of bad, and then some people were like, dude, it's OP. And in my opinion, I don't think it's as good as the S tier cards, but it's not bad. So I'm gonna put it in A tier. Iron Sultan's problem is, I mean, obviously the damage is pretty bad on it, and the utility is really good, but generally you're not going to be using this early on in the game, because it'd be pretty easy to counter, right? If you Sultan too early, they're just going to aura and be fine, right? But very late game, like think of like Fire Golem, when they spam at the end of the game, right? Or even an Ice late game, right? Or Balance late game. This will be incredibly good when people have to chain hit and debuffs together, right? So situational, but just a good card. You need to time it right. It's not going to be something you can just spam and be okay with it. I would argue Rasulka is more spammy than Sultan, oddly enough, but really good card, situational. Next up, we have the 2 worst shads in my opinion, and that is going to be Glowbug Squall, which I'm going to put right in the B tier. This card I thought would be really, really good, but then I looked at some of the other spells, and, you know, obviously Storm has a very difficult time with mitigation. It's just not that good, and in case you're wondering why Bugs isn't like A or S tier, it's essentially because it's only good in the Death matchup, but even in that matchup, Death has better weaknesses anyways, and they don't need a Shad for it, so it's just not that good. I mean, yeah, you could win a couple of games with it. It's not terrible, but it is unfortunately undervalued because of the select target thing on it. Next up, we have Sound. I mean, this card is D tier. There's a lot of reasons why. One, Catch of the Day is just better. We know Catch is going to be getting nerfed though, which will probably make this card look better, but this card is still somehow worse than Live Realm Catch when it's a Shad. So it's just not good looks for the school. You know, if Catch is going to get nerfed and this is supposed to be like its quote unquote replacement, it's terrible. It's still worse than Catch when it's a Shad, and Rusolka's just better as well. Like it's just it's terrible. It's terrible. This isn't going to be enough pressure for Storm. It's terrible. Real quick, I just want to draw a comparison, right? If you take a spell like Fire from Above and compare it to Sound, like FFA is just so much better than Sound. But while we're talking about FFA and Fire, I think this is an S tier card, and I thought I'd rate it a little lower, but after playing into Fire in Test Realm on my Storm, I gotta say, if you play properly now on a Fire with this Shad, like against a Storm, you could definitely win, right? It's one of the hardest matchups in the game, I would say, right now. In live round, like top 5 worst matchups, I would say. But if you fuel and you blade, play for the mutes, and this now, you can really catch people slipping and just burst them down with that. In every other matchup except Storm, you could just spam dots this update with no brain. Won't really be using it there too often. I mean, maybe in the balanced matchup you might run this, but it's really good where you need it, and that's what's important right now for Fire. So just a great spell. Raging Bull. This card is S tier. It did get nerfed, but it's still arguably better actually. So it got a damage buff, but it only detonates 2 instead of 3 now. So it's still incredibly overpowered. People are still just going to do what they did in Test Realm, but now you actually can go ahead and Efreet in a turn or two with that extra overtime that doesn't get detonated. So in a way, it's almost like a buff, which is insane. Next up, we have Scimitar. I'm just gonna put this in C tier. It's okay, not that good really. You're just gonna use FFA over Scimitar. I guess if you want to do some like dual school crazy stuff on a Fire, it might be a little better, but I mean, it's just not good. Blast Off, one of my favorite cards actually. I think this card is honestly really bad, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's really bad. Probably D tier, I want to say. A lot of pips, not a whole lot of damage, right? A burst damage elephant is just better, and it's a deferred overtime. That's just not good. S'more, this one, a lot of people think it's really good and really bad. In my opinion, after playing with it, it's definitely not bad, y'all. It's good, but it's hard to fit it in your deck because like Fire right now, like in test and live realm, your plan is very simple. You just stick to the dock and you win pretty much every matchup except for like 1 or 2, especially in test realm, by the way. But like incorporating this, like you don't really need to if your base plan works. You know what I mean? So I think I'm gonna put it in B tier for that reason. Like it's good and you could definitely make a strat work with it. What's nice about S'more is if you do it, they can't counter the heal part of it and the dot part of it, right? So let's say you S'more and they Zilla the overtime. Now you have a Ring of Fire with the heal on and they just use a counter, right? Or vice versa. So not bad. Definitely has potential in the future. Just not going to be that good in the current meta. Balance. So Balance got some pretty good shots this update. Starting off with Mach. I think Mach got net nerfed a little bit, but its weaknesses are still really good. It's still better than Storm's, oddly enough. So I think I'll put Mach in the A tier. With Sultan, it's good, not as amazing, but the mitigation on those weaknesses are absolutely insane and really cracked. Next up, we have Old Ones Endgame. This card is also just D tier. I mean, like, it's just terrible. Like, why would you want to defer dot on a balance? The burst damage is, like, not that important, you know? Just click Scales and Dark Surge, you know? It's not good. Sandworm, interestingly enough, I think this one is actually pretty good on a balance because you get a pretty big 40% buff, which you typically don't get, right? So, like, I'm thinking you could Locust Swarm a Trap Stacker, Sandworm, like just go for a big nuclear shot against like a PvE meth or something. I'll put it in C tier, I think, for that reason. It could work, you could make a strat with it, but not amazing. Gaze of Fate, S tier, I mean, insane buff. It's barely got a damage nerf from going 1 to 2 shads. And the second hit is always chromatic, so basically that means if it's a balance for Storm, and they have a storm bubble up, it's always going to hit storm. So bounces are going to be packing like 5 gazes again, 4 or 5 gazes. It's incredibly powerful. Next up, we have Nested Fury, also another card that's not going to be making it to live round because of the bug, unfortunately. Um, I mean, it's not bad. It's not like quite as good as Sultan though, I would say. I'm gonna put it in B. I don't think it's as good as Sultan, but it's definitely like not as bad as like Scimitar. Next up, let's do Death. Now, my opinions on Death have actually changed a little bit. I thought Reader was like really bad, but the more I thought about it and I talked to community members, it's still like really good. I would say it's like S tier, A tier. I think I'll put it like high A tier. Still keep a lot of damage, 2 minus 40% chromatic weaknesses. It's essentially a buff in the weakness department when you didn't really need that. Chromatic weaks were already pretty insane. Like monster matches minus 70 and stuff. Pretty insane. Next up, we have Lulu, which is a hit and negative aura. I mean, I think this card's actually C tier. I'm not gonna lie, bro. A couple of reasons. One, it's a drain, so the damage is gonna be like really bad. And against Myth, which would probably be the only time you want to use this card, by the way. The damage is just so bad. You don't need the drain because they're gonna one-shot you or two-shot you, right? And they're just gonna aura over the aura. And then like what you do like 500 damage and they just aura over your aura. Like you're better off just redoing at that point, and like taking the stone and then hitting again. Or like going for the next card here, which is Gizma. Absolutely insane card. A tier card. Amazing against Myth as well, your counter matchups. This Kisma card with Google, Death is absolutely going to be insane. Insane school, this new update. I don't think people are giving Death enough recognition for how good it actually is right now. Death is easily going to be like a top 4 school right now. Top 3 school, I'm predicting. I think it's going to be like between Balance Fire, Death, and Storm for like top 3, top 4. Next up, we have Stank Attack. This card is actually really cool and unique, but kind of situational. Like, you're not really blading against a Death unless, I don't know, if you're like a PvE Ice or a PvE Myth. So, I mean, I put it in the middle, like it's not bad, it's not great. I think it could definitely be good against a Myth because you could steal their blades and go for like a Death Gen, which is pretty cool. So, not bad, but it's situational. Winged Sorrow. This is a hit and infection aura for 6 rounds. Okay, I mean, yeah, this is hard to say. I'm gonna probably say D tier in all reality because you're only gonna need this against death, or sorry, life wizards, right? But the thing is, life wizards are packing like 10 braces right now, right? So you'll do this, they'll just click brace, and your entire utility's gone. At that point, you should have just clicked reader or Kisma and got more value, you know? So, not amazing. If the aura actually stayed, I'd probably put it more like low B, high C, but you just get rid of the aura with a brace. Next up, we have Myth, Tatzelworm. I'm gonna put that in C tier with all the universal traps. It's okay, nothing great. You're probably better off doing other things. Yaga, also gonna put that in C tier. It's okay. Obviously, Ninja Pigs is just better damage per pip than Yaga, and Minion is still not going to be usable in PvP. It's the same egg guy, at least until they do the Minion audit, then maybe Yaga might be better, but as of right now, it is confirmed to be the egg again, and that egg is really bad, so don't pack Yaga. Saga, in my opinion, is Myth's best shot this update, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in like A tier right behind Kisma. The only issue with this really is it kinda doesn't really go too well with like the whole PvE myth nature. This is a great card to try and get myths away from PvE myth, but I mean, as good as it is, and it's not the third dot too, it's going to be really hard trying to get myths away from just PvE stacking everyone because it works so reliably. Mystic Colossus, I'm going to probably put this in B tier right beside Stank Attack. It could be really cool for like a myth mirror, especially to steal their shields back and forth. To set up each other's gens, or against an ice as well. Really good in that matchup. So again, good where it's good. Snake Charmer, my boy Snake Charmer got absolutely gutted this update, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Snake Charmer, D tier. I mean, very little damage hits. The forward overtimes aren't good, and you're only getting one. Okay, so we only have ice and life left to go. Let's get ice done right away. So Shatterhorn, A tier card, just really good. I mean, solid damage per pip. And also 235 universal weaknesses, really good as well. A-bomb, I think A-bomb is B tier. I think A-bomb is B tier. I mean, it's good, but there's so many shield counters in the game. You know, you got like Poison, Frostbite, Storm Elf, Fire Elf, Pyre Dragon. You can Elephant on every school except Storm. It's good, but based off the meta, you can't really rank it higher than B, unfortunately. Climacalism, it's simply just worse than A-bomb in every way. C tier. I mean, you could combo with this easier, I guess, sure, if you want to, but like you're not gonna pack Clima and A-bomb, and you're always gonna take A-bomb over Clima because the damage is just better, right? You get 130 more damage for one more pip. Snowball Barrage, I think this card is also really, really good and lets Ice play pretty offensive. Definitely like a B or an A tier for me. I'd say it's like a low A tier. You know, definitely encouraging Ices to go more on the offensive. I think it's great. If it was like an actual ice trap and not universal, I think that would make it really good. But maybe with universal traps, you can make this work potentially. Freeze Ray, again, compare this to a card like Shatterhorn. It is simply just worse in every single way. So I'm gonna have to put that in C tier. Now we have the life spells. So starting with Grenadier, this is gonna hit and detonate 2 heal over times on you for an extra 15%. So I don't know. This one's kind of hard to rank. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's like good, Loki, but it's also like not amazing. You know, so I kind of have mixed feelings about it. So I think I'll put it in like the middle of the pack then. Next up, we have Caterpillar. I think Caterpillar is pretty good. I think this card is going to make a lot of people jade, unfortunately. But I mean, you can just counter it pretty easily. Just counter the utility, and the damage isn't that good. So I mean, I'm gonna have to put it like low A tier. Like it's not like an S tier card because like if you just counter the healing, you're fine. But the thing is, lives are gonna have so many heals this update. Like everyone's just gonna jade. So like you'll counter it, but the counter won't matter. You know what I mean? So like it's good because healing isn't capped, but by itself, if you just counter the healing, you'll be fine. Next up, we have Yumasu. I think this is a great spell. Actually, I'm going to put it in A tier as well. You're going to get a 4 pip life shad and a 45% life aura, which is insane. That's actually more powerful than Rasulka somehow. I'm not sure how a life aura is more powerful than a storm aura. When Rasulka's more pips and storm, I'm not sure how that works really. But yeah, I mean, Yumasu, great spell for life wizards. You could definitely get a lot of damage done with this. I think you'll see a lot of non-jading life wizards use this card. Speaking of non-jading life wizards, Lord of the Jungle, also an A tier card. Your best damage shad hit, by the way. 45 damage blade and heal blade, incredibly good. I think people who don't jade on a life are going to be spamming a lot of like Dark Surge, Yumasu, and Lord of the Jungle. And lastly, we have Wings of Fate, which I kind of have mixed feelings about this one. I mean, like the heal is good, and you get 2 dots to like maybe go for a Jin with. It's like okay. It's kind of like in the same boat as S'more for me. It's like okay, but like not great. I think I'll put it in B tier. It does a lot of things in one turn, and you can't counter both the heal and the dot, you know? But if you are smart, if they Wings of Fate and you counter the healing immediately, you have like 2 turns to counter the dot and have that do 0 damage too. So essentially, if you play it perfectly, you could full counter a Wings of Fate and have it only do like 200 damage and like healing, and that's it, you know? So like, because you can counter it, I put it in B tier. Yeah, I think that's everything we got for today, y'all. So let me know what you think about my tier list here. Again, obviously, clearly Storm got like the best shots this update. Storm Bounce Fire, that's what everyone's predicting to be the top 3 best schools next update. Death will probably be number 4. Obviously, Jading will be good too, but we'll see. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this in comments below, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for watching, and take care, y'all.